Yeah, when it all goes south, still ain't gonna let it bounce. Took the L 10 rounds. We ain't never going, we ain't never going down.
Don't skip out on a chance to say it with Cadbury PS.
Can burn off. Unfeel lang. Wala. Nag-burn ako. Dev.
diabetes 1, diabetes 2. So definitely get your pens and pads. We finna go through all of it. I'm gonna pull out some of the cadavers today. We're gonna have some fun. So let me know once y'all all get in. Make sure y'all got y'all pens and pads. When y'all got y'all pens and pads, we're gonna start. Matter of fact, I want to show them something, Lane. Would you go upstairs? Look in the office, and it's a book by Dr. Hilda Clark called The Cure for All Diseases. Would you bring it down to me? Peace, blessings, y'all. Will this be on YouTube? Yeah, I upload it to my YouTube, and I will upload it to my Facebook. All right, I'm gonna let a few more people climb in, and we're gonna get it started. I do want to say, man, I had a magnificent time in Mount Vernon, New York. It was amazing. They showed me all love. All the high schoolers came and packed up one side of the auditorium. The other side was all people just coming to see me. Shouts out to Porcilla. Shouts out to the mayor, and shouts out to the senator. They gave me a proclamation. They gave me a proclamation. They gave me my own day in Dr. Yaki Raphael Elohim Day in Mount Vernon, New York. It's super dope. They gave me my roses. They gave me a big bouquet of roses, and they were just talking about how, you know, a lot of our black leaders die, and then, you know, we want to congratulate them, or we want to give them their flowers after they transition or pass over. And they said they wanted to give me mine while I was still alive. Man, it was super heartwarming. I felt it. Emotions was high. It was super dope. And what I love the most about being in Mount Vernon, money earning Mount Vernon, was the children. They responded to the knowledge and information. They participated. So look, shouts out to Mount Vernon, New York. We went over there to P Styles juice bar. We had some good juice. I mean, it was an amazing time though. So shouts out to New York. So a lot of people was asking for me to show the book that I was talking about the last time I was live, and we was discussing herpes. And I was saying that I'm not the only person that discusses and you know, make the claims and have proven that herpes was an actual parasitic infection. This is a book called The Cure for All Diseases, which I mentioned in my live, by Dr. Hilda Clark, PhD. And this is her book. And if you go to her herpes pages, which is right here, it says herpes, she talks about the same thing, and she talks about how it is actually a fluke worm as well. And she says this. She says herpes simplex virus 2 breakouts in the genital area is often blamed on promiscuous sex, but I believe it is quite different origins, which I believe the same thing. She said, I believe this virus is introduced to our bodies by another large parasite, perhaps the pinworms, Ascarius, or perhaps a tapeworm stage picked up by dust or dirt, which I done said many a times. But when you start really reading through this book, she start talking about a fluke worm named Fasciolopsis boyski. And this is the same fluke worm that I can find in this pleomorphic tiny stage that's inside the bloodstream when I am doing live blood analysis. And we can even see them in stained dry blood analysis at certain times too. I have another book that's not in my office, that's at my house, that the next time I go live, I will show you that too. And that's by a biochemist named Dr. Bronze. Dr. Bron said the same thing. So, you know, it's not only me, it's over 4 other people that are saying that the herpes simplex virus is in fact not a so-called virus, but it's in fact a parasitic infection. And when that parasitic infection dies and go through what you would call cellular lysis and explode inside of your system, the DNA and the RNA particles from that parasitic is what triggers an antibody response from your immune system. And that's when they say you have a virus. And, you know, believe it or not, mostly all of your viruses happen the same way. So that's going to start making you question things. It's going to make you question HIV. It's going to make you question herpes. It's going to make you question HPV. It's going to start really making you question, and then asking yourself those questions just sitting you on a search. And on that search, when you start doing your own clinicals and you start doing your own experiments through the experience of self, you'll realize that is there, and then I'm going to say it like this because I don't want them to cut my feed. Do viruses really even exist? Do they really even exist? And then my next question is, if they do, this is the conclusion that I came up with. I'm not saying that this conclusion, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, I'm not saying that this conclusion is, you know, the fact by the fact checkers, but I'm saying this. If what I'm saying is true, then that means if it is a virus, it is a biological weapon that was man created. But the things that are happening naturally in our bodies due to pleomorphic bacteria shape-shifting into parasites, that's a natural phenomenon. We cannot call that a virus. There's two different things. You have pleomorphic bacteria that pleomorph or shape-shift into parasites depending on the terrain that you put your body in. And then you have biochemical Fort Detrick military base that was sanctioned by the United States government to create these certain types of viral loads and strands, and then they administrate these things through needles. They administrate these things through fortified foods. They administrate these things through Bill Gates' appeal being sprayed on your fruits and vegetables. They administrate these things due to sexual corticoids that's being put inside of your chickens to make them reproduce faster. So what I'm saying is this. If it is in fact a virus, because I believe in that sense viruses do exist, then they're man created. But if we're talking about things like, herpes, or we talking about things like, small retroviruses, like they call HIV, that they put these big scare tactics behind them, and you think that as soon as you get these things, it's just an end all because all of the propaganda in the media and all the trillions of dollars that they push behind it to put you in fear, right, which actually causes the so-called immune system to go down even more, then we talking about natural phenomenons. And when I was just talking about this probably a couple of days ago with Nabi, and we were just speaking on cancer, and I was just saying, just by diagnosing and clinically diagnosing the patients, telling them that they have cancer, in all actuality give them cancer. Because when you look at what cancer is a very, very stressed cell that have lost its programming due to hypoxia or due to the loss of electrons, where it shifts its poles and become acidic. So now in order for it to get oxygen, it have to mutate. And due to this mutation, it messed up the cell replica. So it over-replicate itself, and then they gather together and make a tumor. But really it's nothing but a stress malignant cell. So if a cancer cell is a stress malignant cell that was made to mutate, when you clinically diagnose somebody with cancer, after all the fear factors that you put in it, and just think about the imagery when you think of cancer. Like I can bet you if I ask you what this cancer is right now, won't none of y'all give me an actual scholar clinical definition of it. You gonna think automatically about your loved ones that have died from it. You gonna think about your loved ones that have been mutilated, been hacked off, had surgery, had chemotherapy, which is a biological weapon. And anybody that's using these things on civilians in the United States should be locked up for terrorism. You see that? You're going to think about radiation, which is burning. I mean, literally burning the cells out of the body, not only the good ones, but the bad ones. You're going to think about lymph nodes and lymphatic vessels being taken out of the actual body when you need the lymphatic system, because the lymphatic system is what actually cleanses the cells of the body. So if the lymphatic system and the lymph nodes that's connected to the lymphatic vessels is made to be the sewage system of the body, and that's the way that you get rid of metabolic waste and toxicity and environmental pollutants and stress, emotional stress or physical stress from the environment built up in the system, is what causes cancer in the first place. And all of these things go to the lymphatic system and then is cleansed out by the nephrons or the glomerulus of the kidneys. Then that means the lymphatic system is very, very important for your healing process and getting rid of metabolic waste. So if you are removing lymph nodes to biopsy lymph nodes to actually see if there are malignant cells in there, isn't that causing cancer? If you removing lymphatic vessels and doing surgery on the sewage system that gets rid of the metabolic waste to cleanse the body of metabolic disease, wouldn't that mean that all these toxemias stay inside of the fluids, stay inside of the interstitial fluids and continue to burn the cells? And when you burn the cells, it's going to deprive the cells of oxygen and all the electrons that it needs. And doesn't that cause cancer? So, to me, just coming from my ideology, my mindset, and really being hands-on in this field for going on 15 years, it seems like that the so-called treatments that they are doing for cancer is actually causing cancer. It seems like the so-called things that they're giving you for these so-called viruses is actually keeping these so-called viruses in you. Now, again, Facebook, this is all my opinion and thought. I'm not on here saying I'm stating facts. We all gonna let the record speak of things that y'all said and that y'all written though. But to keep me from being flagged and to keep this stuff on here, you know, I'm gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say that. I am not a actual medical physician. See that I have a PhD in biochemistry. I'm a biochemist. I'm a human biologist. Yes, I do run my own clinic, but we do not use any of their standard of cares at all. Everything we do in our facility is herb-based. It is natural-based. We use machines and technology to help uplift and open up the lymphatic system. We use hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy. We use PEMF therapy, which stands for post-electrical magnetic stimulation therapy. We use detoxification, where you go in a sauna and you detox that way. We use red light therapy. We use vibrational therapy. We use things like that. We do not use pharmaceuticals at all, and we never will. And every now and then, I will say, hey, you might need to do an antibiotic. And don't get me wrong, I'm not extremist at all. If you come into our clinic and your blood pressure is 300 something over something, we gonna tell you to go to the hospital, go to the ER. You see what I'm saying? So it's a very, very big difference in what I practice. I push and practice, and my license is in plant-based nutrition and health. See that I don't push pharmaceuticals and medicines. I'm not a medical doctor. You see that I have a doctorate. Well, I have multiple doctorates, which is why you can call me doctor. And yes, I have an NPI and all of that. So I am licensed to open my own clinic and not go to jail and get in trouble. But I will get in trouble if I practice medicine. But I will never become one of those. Right now, we against that 100%. You know what I'm saying? And y'all need to learn that too. Y'all different classification of doctrines. All right, so high blood pressure. We're going to talk about high blood pressure. So I want you to get your pen, get your pad, and write down hypertension or high blood pressure. So whenever you're thinking about high blood pressure, there's many different ways to get it. Now, I want to put this in an analogy, and I want to start focusing on things. The first thing we're going to learn about is what you would call hydrostatic pressure or oncotic pressure. And this is basically when the pressure is so high within your arteries or in your venous system that it makes the blood that's coming through the system press up against the artery wall or press up against the veins or the venous system. And this is what they call high blood pressure. All right. So you have something called systolic. Systolic is the top number, which they clinically say is supposed to be 120. And then you have diastolic. Diastolic is the bottom number. They say that's supposed to be 80. So according to their textbooks, their clinical textbooks, is supposed to be 120 over 80. Always think about the top number as being, and here go a kidney and adrenal. So always think about the top number as being the adrenal glands. That's supposed to be a 120 according to them. And always think about the bottom number, which is diastolic, as the kidneys. That's the bottom number. So whenever you're thinking about hypertension or hypotension, or whenever you're thinking about blood pressure, it always has something to do with the adrenals and the kidneys. So the first part I want to focus on when it's dealing with high blood pressure, I want to deal with the actual systolic, which is the actual adrenal gland. So I want y'all to write down systolic, adrenal glands, textbook wise, it's supposed to be 120. So if it goes up in millimeters of mercury, what's going on here? You have to see what the adrenals do. So the adrenals are in control. I talk about this a lot. The adrenals are in control of what you would call the autonomic nervous system. And these are things that runs on autopilot. When I was just at Mount Vernon High School, I had to explain to them that you don't only have two brains, you have three brains. I've been saying this for the last 10 years. You have the central nervous system, which is the brain inside of your cranial, right? The brain inside of your skull. Then you have your heart. The reason why I'm going to call your heart a brain, because your heart have actually a bunch of melanin neurotransmitters that communicate with your gut in your brain. In your heart can hold memory. And there is an actual documentary on Netflix where people were getting heart transplants from dead donors before, and they started taking on memories, start taking on gifts, and start taking on certain types of events that the organ donor gave them while they were still in the body. They did a black man died. The black man was into blues. He played a saxophone. He loved listening to R&B and things like that. He ended up dying, and an actual white racist man, a Caucasian man, ended up getting his heart. Did you know this Caucasian racist racist man started loving the blues. This Caucasian racist man started loving R&B and started loving hip hop and black music. And he didn't know why. And then he went back and they went back to the organ donors, and it turns out that the things that he liked is what his organ donor liked. So they had to do a clinical study and trial, and it come to find out that you hold memories and melanin neurotransmitters inside of your heart. See that? So that's your second brain. But then you got your third brain. Well, I really say that the gut is your first brain, the heart is your second brain, and then the central nervous system is your third brain. So then you got your first brain, which is your gut. There are more melanin neurotransmitters and messengers and nucleus tissues or neuron tissues inside of your gut than it is inside of your brain that's in your head and your heart combined together. And if you think that I'm telling you a lie, all you have to do is Google this stuff. Now, the reason why I'm saying that your gut is your first brain and your gut is a big brain and it's controlled by a nervous system called the autonomic nervous system, right? Or they call it the intrinsic or the enteric nervous system. This is actually controlled by stimuli that come from the adrenal glands. Now, why is this important? Because you have to think about this. If your heart beats automatically and you don't have to tell your heart to beat, that means that your heartbeat is controlled by nerve impulses. These nerve impulses are getting an electrical signal by the adrenal glands, right? Your calf muscles contracting, because we got to remember, the heart is not a pump. That's another textbook fallacy that we have been made to believe. The lungs is what pumps the blood throughout the body, the top of the body. Then you have your calf muscles is what pumps the blood through your low extremities. See that? So your calf muscles and your lungs is what pumps the blood working together throughout the entire body. That's why people that walk longer or people that walk every day live longer. It's a tribe in Okinawa. All they do is walk, and they average death. They average death is at 104. And the reason why, you look, they exercise. They don't do rigorous exercises, but they make sure that they practice breath work and they stay moving their calf muscles. And these people are the strongest, the most beautiful, gentle, and well-aged people on the planet, y'all. And if you look at what they're doing, they're moving what you would call they blood contributor muscles, which is their lungs, because they constantly practicing on the breath. And then they actually doing leg exercises. They walking around, they doing croquette. You would never see them sitting down. Even when they at home, they're constantly doing chores and they on their feet. Because your calf muscles actually pumps the blood up the venous system to return back to the heart. And the lung muscles, when you breathe and you're doing your diaphragmatic breathing, that releases the blood to bring it out through the whole entire body. Then you have something called the sinoatrium, which is another neurolymphatic, not only a neurolymphatic, but a neuronervous system point that keeps the heart beating. And it opens and closes the valve to control the cardiac output of blood. See that? So it's a difference. Now, back to the adrenal glands. Now, if the adrenal glands is in control of the heartbeat, if the adrenal glands is in control of breathing, the lung pump, if the adrenal glands is in control of stimuli of the cells that's inside of the muscle tissues to dilate and constrict, that means if your adrenals get stressed out and your adrenals get overstimulated, dehydration will make your adrenals overstimulated. You see that? Ultra processed foods will make your adrenals highly stimulated. Eating meats, especially red meat, will make your adrenals highly stimulated. You see that? Environmental pollutants will make your adrenals highly stimulated. Being backed up lymphatically will make your adrenals highly stimulated. And why I'm saying that, because what controls the actual flow of your lymphatic vessel is called acetylcholinesterase. Acetylcholinesterase come from something called acetylcholine. This is an actual hormone or a chemical due to enzymatic reactions in the body that makes your lymph actually flow. It makes your lymph flow. So if you're not producing acetylcholinesterase or acetylcholine, then it's going to be impossible to get your adrenal glands to talk to the lymphatic vessels to actually dilate them for you to move lymph through your body anyway. So if you're not producing this because you're not eating the adequate amount of raw foods, you're not eating the adequate amount of whole foods, non-GMO foods that have seeds in them, foods that is grown directly from the earth that don't have any environmental pollutants on them, like herbicides, insecticides, pesticides, a pill, and Bill Gates spray, then what's going to happen is they're going to stay dilated for the lymph can flow. But if you eaten these foods, it's going to stop producing acetylcholinesterase or acetylcholinesterase, and that's not going to open up the lymphatic vessels. So now all of that fluid starts backing up into the interstitium fluid of the body. Right? So in order for it to do that, you have to fill up the vessels. Well, we know that the blood cleanses itself inside of the lymphatic system. So if the lymphatic system gets backed up, but the circulatory system or the blood cleanses itself inside the lymphatic system, that means that all this lymphatic fluid starts backing up inside the arteries. So now we have metabolic waste inside of the blood. You see that? Now, since metabolic waste inside the blood becomes acidic. If the blood becomes acidic, you die. So what happens is the parathyroid glands that sits on the back of the thyroid starts releasing calcium. So now calcium is in the bloodstream. Calcium inside of the bloodstream is cool. But if you never change your diet or change the way that you look at your reality, too much calcium starts building up. Well, this causes calcification of the arteries. Calcification of the arteries automatically vasoconstrict the arteries and the veins. So since the arteries and the veins vasoconstrict themselves, where's the arteries in the vein real fast? Did I bring them? Go check and see if I brought them. So since the vasoconstriction happened to the arteries and the veins, it's going to make that blood flow even harder. So just look at this artery, right? This is an artery. Now, when you're looking at this artery, you see the blood trying to make it through the artery. But what you see is you see calcium plaque buildup, and you see what you would call cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is called the internal scab of the body. Cholesterol is a good thing, y'all. You need cholesterol. It's impossible to survive without cholesterol. Cholesterol is, the brain eats 99% of this cholesterol. Matter of fact, if your cholesterol is below 180, it increases your cancer diagnosis by 70%, y'all. By 70%. Dang, it is cool. Dang it. You can put that back. It actually increases increases your cancer rate by 70% if your cholesterol is below 180. But they want your cholesterol at a 140. Your total cholesterol. So it don't make sense. Without cholesterols, you can't protect your cells because your cellular membrane is made of cholesterols. You see what I'm saying? Cholesterol is actually good for the liver. The liver creates cholesterol. Without cholesterol, you wouldn't even have any sexual hormones. It would be impossible to make a baby without cholesterol, because cholesterol is what makes your sexual hormone, pregnenolone. The fundamental basis of pregnenolone hormone is cholesterol. Progesterone. The fundamental basis of progesterone is actually cholesterol. Testosterone. The home base particles that make up testosterone is cholesterol. Estrogen. What creates estrogen is cholesterol. And it's all actually functioned by a master gland called the pituitary gland, or who we call the God Patu, because the body is so interconnected with spirituality because we are the gods here on earth. So, you know, cholesterol is nature's scab. When calcium comes through the arteries and calcium calcifies and turns into crystals, and then the blood is trying to push that calcium in it because it's going to create this oncotic pressure, because automatically you suffering from dehydration. That's going to constrict. If you think I'm playing, when you find a snail, put some salt on it. When that snail gets that salt, it sucks all the water out. That dehydration makes the snail very, very skinny. Same thing that happens with your vessels when you become dehydrated. It makes your blood vessels in the arteries very, very constricted. Now, on top of that, since that constriction and all that metabolic waste is inside the arteries, and you don't want to die of acidosis, the actual parathyroid is going to release something called calcitonin. Calcitonin is going to go and move and pull actual calcium from the blood calcium matrix. So calcium then goes into the blood from the bones, and calcium is now roaming through the actual arteries. So now, since you are dehydrated and you don't have the adequate amount of H3O, not H3O2 that come from your juices in your coconut water, but H3O, which is the actual highly structured water that's already in your body, what's going to happen is the calcium is going to crystallize, and the cholesterol that's in here is going to calcify. So now you have cholesterol crystals and calcium crystals, cholesterol crystals, and calcium crystals inside of the bloodstream. So what happens is the blood is going to be pushing and making its way through. See how it's pushing and forcing? This brings up oncotic pressure. Notice, now what makes the blood flow harder? The adrenal glands. See that? So now this is going to put the adrenal glands in hyper stimulation with my adrenals. So now since the adrenal glands in hyper stimulation, it's going to say, hey, produce more renin, produce more of that. Produce more acetylcholinesterase. Produce more of that. I need blood to flow faster because the arteries are vasoconstricted and I need them to dilate. But on top of that, since I got metabolic waste inside of the arteries, I need calcium to be released by way of the pituitary gland and calcitonin from the parathyroid to go and buffer out the acids, because calcium is a natural acid buffer. That's what it does. So now calcium goes through, you dehydrated, it dries out, so there's no more hydration in calcium. This is called crystallization or solidification. It starts ripping and tearing through the artery wall. So now since it's ripping and tearing through the artery wall, cholesterol is going to come from the liver and come from bowel and say, I need to patch up the holes. So if you look at cholesterol, it's like a putty that you put in walls that have holes in it. So they going to blame that on heart attack and stroke, but they not seeing what's causing the mechanism. But when you get to the root cause of what's going on is calcium had ripped through the artery walls. So since calcium ripped through the artery walls, the liver, the gallbladder, like, hey, I need to produce more cholesterol to go putty these holes up. So now you get putty and holes up. Now all of this mixed with calcium and mixed with cholesterol makes the actual vessel even more constricted. So now blood got to find a way to push itself through there. Guess what? The adrenal's going to say produce more blood, because if blood starts circulating, you drop dead. They call them aneurysms, they call them heart attacks, and they call them strokes. You see what I'm saying? So now it's going to go even more and raise its stimuli. So now your blood pressure 150, 200. Now, sometimes they even get into the threes, which is going to send you to heart attack or stroke. You see that? Now, that's just for the top part. Now, I'm going to show you how to get rid of this. Then we got to talk about the bottom part. That is only systolic, right? Systolic. And let's not talk about cortisol, which is a highly stressful chemical. You need it inside the body at low levels because we need to be in a low state of fight or flight, because it keeps us focused at times, especially when you wake up in the morning, you go into your state of fight or flight. This is what wakes you up and gets you ready for your work day, get you ready to walk on your purpose. But you shouldn't be in a cortisol hypertension stage throughout the day, because guess what that does? That puts stress chemicals inside the blood vessels. Cortisol is being released by what? Corticosteroids, the adrenal glands. What's going to happen? Vasoconstriction when we need vasodilation. See that? So the overcompensation of calcium, the overcompensation of cholesterol is actually what's causing the blood to flow through and to push through, to put that hydrostatic and oncotic pressure on the artery walls, which is causing your blood pressure to be 300 or 220 or 150 over 100. That's the first part. Now, how do you get rid of that? Matter of fact, let's do how you get rid of that first before we even talk about the bottom number. We only going to stick to systolic, which is the top one first. First thing you need to do is stop stressing out. Quit stressing. If you can't control it, don't worry about it. Because half the things that you're stressing over, you have no control over anyway. Second thing is know how to calm yourself with breathing meditation. Can you consciously breathe? Because most of the time, your breaths, your inconsistent breath, your adolescent breath you taking, you don't even do full breaths, is causing your hypertension. You think I'm lying? Look this stuff up. If you do not do full breaths, complete breaths, it can actually cause this hypertension, because you are telling the adrenal glands that you can't breathe. And if the adrenal glands don't think you can breathe, guess what they're going to do? They're going to try their hardest to do the breathing for you. So you have to consciously breathe. In through the nasal passage, out through the mouth. In through the nasal passage. Make sure your diaphragmatic muscle fully expand. Hold that breath out through the mouth. This will calm down the stimuli. And then now the adrenal glands can say, let me pull back on the corticosteroids. Let me pull back on the steroids. Let me pull back on the cortisol. Let me pull back on the epinephrine and neuroepinephrine. Let me pull back on the adrenaline. Let me increase dopamine. Let me increase oxytocin. Let me increase serotonin. Let me increase melatonin. Let me increase all of the actual calming hormones, all the loving and happy hormones, and let me put that other scary state of fight or flight hormones away. I'm going to use them when we need it. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you're breathing properly. Next thing is get off the meats. If you have high blood pressure, you shouldn't be eating meat, especially cows and chickens. Especially cows and chickens. Get off of them, even if they're grass fed. Because guess what they come with? Their own stressed out hormones. Their own stressed out hormones, especially if you ain't raised it yourself and slaughtered it yourself, which you shouldn't be doing that anyway, because that makes you a murderer. But say if you get them from the store. Do you realize that these cows and these chickens are crying on their way to the slaughterhouse, and they're dumping all of their pheromones, they're dumping all of their hormones, they're dumping all of their fear factors into the blood, that you're going to cook that blood in the meat to make it well done? You think you're getting rid of all of the chemical factors, but you're not. I done proved this probably 20 posts ago, and now you eating these angry birds, and you eating these angry hamburgers, and you wonder why you angry and why you stressed out, because you're eating anxiety that's been pumped into the blood by these animals, and then they're getting cooked or they're getting dried into the actual cells of these animals. So get off meats. And let's not talk about the heterocyclic amines and the hydrocarbons that raises your blood pressure too, that come from you even putting flames and cooking and charring in these animals anyway. And cooking these animals actually causes throat cancer. I'm talking about by a large percentage, because of the heterocyclic amines and the hydrocarbons and the aromatase that's associated with cooking these things. So get off meat. Number 3, hydration. Make sure that you're hydrating, whether you're doing spring water, whether you're doing H3O2, whether you're doing H2O2, whether you're doing all these things. Make sure that you're hydrating. At least be drinking 45 ounces of liquids a day. At least. Next thing is watch your mineral balance, because what we've been noticing is people that have high hypertension or have high blood pressure are suffering a whole lot from calcium overload and not enough magnesium. You have to remember what is the functioning of calcium. Calcium does not only buffer out acids, but calcium also does what, y'all? It vasoconstrict the cells. It constrict the cells. It constricts the cardiac sphincter. It closes the arteries. And then magnesium relaxes the cells. It relaxes the pyloric sphincter, the cardiac sphincter. It relaxes the arterial. So we call that vasodilation. So if you know, when you look at the arteries that is too constricted, magnesium will automatically open it up more for you to be able to flow properly. And that's the one thing I love about magnesium citrate. It's going to open things up. It dilates. Not only does it dilate the blood vessels, but it dilates the actual urinary tract. It helps you get rid of kidney stones, stones that's in the liver and in the adrenals and in the kidneys. And one thing it does is it dissolves crystals. That's magnesium citrate. Or citrate. So that's what I love about magnesium. It relaxes things. Calcium constricts things, and it buffers out acids. So make sure that you're getting a bunch of magnesium in. If you want magnesium, sweet potato. You want magnesium, organic beets, grow them yourself. You want magnesium, and nitric oxide is another thing that we're lacking. If your blood pressure is high, you are low from nitric oxide. These are facts. So see what nitric oxide's in. These are in your cruciferous vegetables. Make sure that you get eating your kale. Make sure that you properly chew on your kale, for you can get your nitric oxide out of that. I love me some organic broccoli. Love it. Hybrid or not, I love it. It's a superfood. Don't know no other food better than broccoli. Eat your broccoli. Make sure you chop your broccoli up, for you can get your sulforaphane and your sulfates and your nitric oxide from it though, and your isothioneins from it, because these things are very, very good for you, and it helps keep the blood flowing properly. It helps keep calcium in its balanced place with magnesium, and it keeps the actual your venous system and your arteries dilated. These are the facts. All right. Next thing is walking. Make sure that you're walking at least a mile a day. And I'm not saying that you got to walk on a treadmill. You can walk outside in nature, and you can walk at your own pace, but walk. Make sure that those calf muscles is pumping them blood right. Make sure that you at least get into some type of hard breathing, for you can train your lung cells. You have to train your pneumocytes. Pneumocytes just mean lung cells. That's where you get pneumonia from. So train your lungs, train your respiratory system by walking. Another thing is hot and cold showers. This will help it flow easily. Make sure that you're doing alternative switching on your hot and cold showers. Jump in the shower, jump in there cold for 10 minutes. On your last 5 minutes, cold for warm. Warm for 10 minutes. On your last 5 minutes out, turn it cold and try to stay in there as long as possible. All these things help, but the best thing is going to be your nutrition, y'all. Your nutrition: fruits, berries, melons, vegetables, and coconut water. 21 days on nothing but those. 21 days. I haven't even mentioned herbs yet. 21 days on nothing but fruits, berries, melons, vegetables, and coconut water. All organic. All organic. Your blood pressure will naturally regulate itself. Your blood pressure will naturally regulate itself. This is just from the systolic. We haven't even gotten to the kidneys or what you would call the diastolic yet. This is just getting the top number down. Now we got to talk about the kidneys, which is diastolic. And then I'm going to give you herbs for both of them, which I do all the time. Diastolic, this top number is the kidneys. What happened is the glomerulus, these are called the glomerulus, these are called the pyramids. These are called renal pyramids right here. This is a glomerulus right here. Let me get it. This is a filtration system of the kidney. This is called the glomerulus. This is called the corticonephrons. These two are the filtration parts that make up the actual kidneys. Yes, you have pyramids inside your kidneys. And what's crazy is when you add them all together with the nephrons, it makes up the pyramids, the grids, and the sphinx that cover the earth. Just saying, it seemed like the gods or religion was all made after our body parts. You know, you have Patu, God Patu, then you have the pituitary gland. You know what I'm saying? You have the 33-degree vertebrae. That's Christ died at 33. You know what I'm saying? You got Christos and Santa Claus. All this stuff is in your brain and in your body. Like, I'm talking about literally. So I'm just saying, really think about that. But anyways, when these things get backed up because of metabolic waste, and what the glomerulus do is it separates proteins and it brings it back into the bloodstream from metabolic waste. It puts salt back into the bloodstream. It gets rid of acid, excessive salt, and it gets rid of mucus, and it turns things into urea, and it passes through the urethra, and then you put that stuff in the toilet. But if you bring it in too much metabolic acid doses, these things starts burning the glomerulus, and they start burning the actual cortical nephrons. So then the filtration system stopped working. When the filtration system stopped working, and a lot of y'all got calcitonin, or what you will call calcium stones inside of the kidneys too. And it's due to the same way calcium is made to be produced inside of the bloodstream from the adrenals. The same thing happened, it just happened on a kidney level. Now this actually stops the filtration system of the glomerulus and of the actual nephrons. So since it stopped filtering, you start leaking protein. Protein starts tearing up the actual nephrons, and then you start leaking protein. You know, if you're leaking protein, just check your urine. It's going to be very, very foamy. That means it's damage that's happening inside the kidneys. Or get a urinalysis check, and then check your Bun's number, your blood urine nitrogen number, and check your sodium potassium number, and check your GFR numbers and your filtration rates and things like that. And you can tell what's going on with your kidneys, family. And check your calcium. If your calcium high, your Bun's number low, your BUN is low, your GFR is low, and then your potassium is high and your phosphorus is high, you're going into kidney failure, buddy. And you need to come holler at me, seriously. Because I'm gonna get you back. Because I know exactly what to do. My people know exactly, my team know exactly what to do. And I'm not saying I'm the only one out here that know exactly what to do. I'm not even saying, I'm not making them claims, you know what I'm saying? But I do. I know exactly what to do. So these things happen. Since all the metabolic waste and the damage of the nephrons is happening, what happened is you start leaking protein and you start building up a bunch of metabolic waste in the kidneys. Now, since you're building up a bunch of metabolic waste in the kidneys and you're retaining a bunch of water and fluids, especially lymphatic fluid, guess what happens? Pressure builds up. When pressure builds up in the nephrons, pressure builds up in the veins, because if you're looking here at this kidney, what you have the renal vein, the renal venous system, then you have the renal artery system. So you have the flowing of blood coming inside of the kidney pyramid structure. Then you have the blood coming back out. And then along the way, you have what you would call lymphatic capillary beds, where the blood is constantly cleansing itself inside the lymphatic system. You see that? So how do you fix this issue? I just told y'all, but how do you fix the issues of the kidneys? You have to do a kidney cleanse. You have to. About 2 videos ago, I showed you how to do a proper kidney cleanse, but I tell you again, parsley leaf. Parsley leaf is amazing for the kidneys. You see that? You can put it in your salads. You can put it on your fruits. You can put it on your vegetables. Or you can just take the parsley leaf. Thinking of that, let me drink my kidney tea. Or you can do that, or you can make a tea out of it. Thank you, Nabi, for the tea. Or you can make a tea out of it. Very, very good for you. Another one is stinky nettle root or stinky nettle leaf. These are good for kidney filtration. My all-time favorite for kidney filtration, and that's going to tone the kidneys, that's going to cleanse the kidneys, and that's going to strengthen the kidneys, is juniper berries. You can get these berries, you can eat them wild on your salads, you can eat them wild with other berries, or you can get them in a dried form and you can put them a part of your tea concoction. And then you're going to drink 8 ounces of this twice a day. This is going to help flush the kidneys. While you're doing that as well, what I would do is I would do a teaspoon of magnesium citrate, or what they call Epsom salt, in the magnesium citrate side, and I'll put a tea of that in about 4 ounces of water, mix it up real good, and I drink that down in the morning and in the evening. And any type of calcium stones that you have that's built up in the kidney, it will help dissolve them. It will help dissolve them. And I also will eat a bunch of what you would call organic grapefruit. Now, if you own hypertension medication, you can't mix that with grapefruit. But if you have high blood pressure, because all of y'all just be stopped taking y'all medicine, never said that I told y'all to. But if you're not taking blood pressure medication and do those things, make sure that you're eating your grapefruit, because this is going to help dissolve that as well. Matter of fact, any type of citric fruit is going to help dissolve, and it's going to astringe, and it's going to pull and tug on any type of calcium or any type of what you would call built up mass inside of your tissues. That's what you do for the kidneys. Plenty, and drink plenty of water too. Drink plenty of water, plenty of your juices. But look, the parsley, the stinky nettle leaf, the stinky nettle root, and the juniper berries do amazing wonders. And look, last but not least, y'all, talk to your body. Talk to your kidneys. Hug on them. Let them know that you love them. Let them know that you sorry for putting them through the hell you've been putting them through, and command them to work right, because body did not create consciousness and body did not create mind. You see that? Mind and consciousness created body and mind. Consciousness is God. God wants to experience itself, so it created a body to deal with matter. So you can command and tell your kidneys and your adrenals what you want them to do if you really believe it. And through that very belief, you change your biology. And through changing your biology, that's how you change your whole perception on disease. It's a perception thing that's going on is wrong, okay? That's what's going on. So that's how you clear up hypertension, high blood pressure. I hope I covered that, y'all. For those that need to calm down their adrenals because their adrenals are too stimulated, always use valerian root. Valerian root, valerian root, valerian root, and chamomile will really calm you. I have something on the site called Surrender Tea. It's a calming tea that will calm your nervous system. It will calm your adrenal glands for being so stimulated. I also have something called the Kidney and Adrenal Kit on my website for those that don't want to make it themselves. I already gave you all the ingredients you need. The adrenal kit, the Kidney and Adrenal Kit, is on the website. I think it's about $350. That's been handling this whole situation. And if you want to just calm your nervous system, we have the Surrender Tea. All right. And the Surrender Tea got chamomile in it. We put a little bit of lavender in it, you know what I'm saying, to knock off the edge, a tad bit of valerian root in it and things like that. It's just a whole calming sensation. So you can do it yourself at home. You can go to your local herbal store and buy it yourself. Or if you don't have time to do all of it, of course, you can go to www.yakiawaken.com and you can buy it from me. All right, so we talked about high blood pressure. Now, since we talked about peace, love, light, and healing, peace, love, light, and healing, peace to the gods, peace to the